Back at it again, baby, and we got another one from Thomas Sowell. Facts about Hiroshima. Let's dive right on in.
An American of Chinese ancestry got into big trouble when the private school at which he was teaching had a public discussion of the American bombing of Hiroshima. He recalled how, as someone growing up in China, he had rejoiced when he heard of the bombing, knowing that it could deliver his people from the horrors inflicted on them by the Japanese. That, of course, was not the politically correct response, as he soon discovered from the backlash, hostility, and ostracism that eventually culminated in his leaving the school. The anointed do not want anyone upsetting their vision. When they say diversity, this is not what they have in mind. Hiroshima has become one of the many symbols of a countercultural hostility to America among the intelligentsia in general and the revisionist historians in particular. The 50th anniversary of the bombing of Hiroshima on August 6, 1945, galvanized Newsweek magazine into Monday morning quarterbacking half a century after that Sunday. The revisionist line is that it was unnecessary to bomb Hiroshima. We could have invaded.
My God, look at that. I mean, just leveled, absolutely leveled. And to think that we have bombs that are much stronger than this one is wild to think about. Scary, especially with what's going on right now with the situation overseas. I don't know if I can even mention it without getting demonetized, but y'all know the situation I'm talking about between the two countries right now, and one of them has some pretty serious firepower that we got a slight threat of possibly getting used at some point. That is scary, looking at this image and knowing that there's a possibility this could happen right in your own backyard. Unlikely, knock on wood, but it is possible. I salute to all of our men and women of the military, man. Hey, listen, I appreciate y'all. Absolutely.
We could have negotiated a settlement. We could have done all sorts of things. Newsweek magazine's estimate today is that there might have been 20,000 Americans killed in an invasion of Japan. This is quite a contrast with the estimates of the people who had the heavy responsibility of fighting the war at the time. General Douglas MacArthur, who had been selected to command the invasion of Japan before the atomic bomb was tested and shown to work, told Secretary of War Stimson to expect more than 1 million American casualties alone. British Prime Minister Winston Churchill also expected more than 1 million American casualties, together with 500,000 casualties among the British troops who were scheduled to hit the beaches with the Americans.
1 million people. To think about the ripple effect from that, because not only do those individuals die, those millions of people, right? But the people that were coming behind them also die with them. Their kids, their kids' kids, and those kids, you know what I mean? So like there's an entire line behind them that also perishes. It's crazy to think about.
Anyone familiar with the history of the Japanese soldiers' bitter resistance to the death, very few were captured alive, will have no trouble understanding why such huge casualties were expected. American Marines lost more than 5,000 men taking the little island of Iwo Jima, and the Japanese themselves suffered more than 100,000 deaths when Americans captured Japan's outlying island of Okinawa. That was more than were killed at Hiroshima or Nagasaki. Newsweek's pushover scenario, which would have had Japan defeated in 90 days, would be funny if it were not so sick. Winston Churchill's estimate to the House of Commons would have had the war with Japan ending in 1946, and the Pentagon's estimate was that Japan might even hold out until 1947. Not only was there a Japanese army which had proven its toughness and skill on many a battlefield, there were 5,000 kamikaze planes ready for suicide attacks on Americans invading their homeland. If these planes managed to take out just 5 Americans each...
Wow. They even had it labeled on the actual plane, like, this is the sole mission of this vessel. And that psychology is quite wild to think about, to think that there are people, I'm sure still are people, that were willing to literally die. Like, I'm going to take this plane, or I'm going to get in this plane knowing that I am not returning back to this earth in the same form that I took off in. Like, I'm gonna return to it, but obviously it's gonna be in pieces. And knowing that, like, yeah, I'm doing it. Like, I wonder if people, like, were actually, like, settled on that idea, or were they kind of pushed towards it? Was there like a monetary thing, like, hey, yo, if you come up a kamikaze pilot, we'll make sure your family is taken care of very well? Or were people just actually just making that choice? I mean, obviously it's still a choice, but you get what I mean. Like, was there like any type of incentive to do this other than just pride for your country and winning a war? Like, let me know in the comment section. If we got into a battle and you were asked to be a kamikaze pilot, what would it take in order for you to do it? Or would you just say, you know what, I'll do it? Would it take money? How much money? Would it take a guarantee that we were going to win the battle or the war, whatever we were in? Like, what would it take for you to become a kamikaze? Like, knowing this is the end. Let me know.
In Newsweek's rosy scenario, Japan's civilian population, including children, were also being mobilized and trained in suicide attacks on enemy troops and tanks. It would have been one of the great bloodbaths of all time. Of course, Japan could have been defeated without the atomic bomb, but at what cost in lives of people killed in other ways, and in larger numbers? The other tack taken by the revisionist historians is to say that Japan was ready to surrender before the atomic bombs were dropped. The most obvious question is, why didn't they do it then? Indeed, why didn't they do it after Hiroshima was bombed, and thereby spare Nagasaki? Whatever negotiations may have been going on behind the scenes, surrender was by no means a done deal. Even after both cities had been destroyed, it took the unprecedented intervention of the emperor himself to get the military men to agree to surrender. And even as the emperor's message was being broadcast, some military officers were killed trying to storm the studio where the broadcast originated. The real question is not whether Japan was willing to negotiate some kind of end to the war, but whether it was ready to accept the terms being offered, which involved not merely military capitulation, but acceptance of American occupation of their homeland. It was this occupation, like the occupation of Germany, which turned a militaristic nation that had launched several wars in recent times into a peaceful and democratic country. This was an historic achievement, made possible by the terms of surrender, which in turn were made possible by the 2 atomic bombs. On net balance, this saved not only American and British lives, but even Japanese lives, not to mention the lives of people in Asia, like our Chinese-American schoolteacher who told a bitter truth, which the anointed did not want to hear.
Dropping those was the better of 2 evils. Interesting. If that's the true situation, if that's the facts, then that's what we should all be learning about. The facts. So it's interesting how all of this stuff that, you know, you kind of learned as a kid or learned when we were younger is all starting to come out. Well, some of it is starting to come back, and you realize there were some truths that were bent here a little bit. You know, we weren't told the whole truth and nothing but the truth. We were told a part of it. Crazy to think about. Like, what else have we been lied to about? Anyway, y'all let me know what you thought about it in the comment section below. Like, share, comment. Of course, hit the subscribe button before you go, and go and join the new Discord server. It's the first link down below. I'm out.